I'm going to start recording again. So now we've got a recording of the back end of the class. So if you need to sort of go back, review Carlos, his video and his talk in order to answer the quiz, you're welcome to do that. But I'm now going to go back and share my screen again and finish up on some of my slides here. So there's celebrity interview. And let me go ahead and get this. All right, so one thing I want to share with you, some tips and tricks. So if you're working through, navigating through on MoreSteam, it's important for all of us to get smarter so you guys can be economical in your approach to studying online. One thing I want to point out, you can skip questions on your quiz and come back to them, maybe even a day or two later. One thing I'd point out is over on the the left-hand side of your screen, you got this blue toolbar, if you will. One of the tools under there is quiz results. If you click on that quiz results, it'll take you to this page where it'll show you, how many questions you got right, what the percentage that you missed, how many you answered, if you've skipped any. If you actually click on that skipped question, you can go back to that skipped question and then go ahead and answer it. Are there any other tips or tricks or things that people found that they'd like to share with the rest of the class? If you could, you can go ahead and if you raise your hand, you want to share something, but we're all about getting smarter on this and getting easier to move through the material. So, okay, Tom, you got a tip or trick you want to share?
Yeah, well, one thing that I did notice, and this will help if people, especially if they spread it over several days worth of taking in the material, is that if you go to, I think it's course map, and if you left off on a certain page, it'll say what page you were previously on, which makes it a lot easier to find your place again.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, there's a course map and it's a little icon. The easiest way I find to get to that course map, there's a little icon in between your forward and your back arrow between the training lessons, and you click on that and it'll show you, like Tom said, what you've already completed, and you can use that to click your way, through other sections or move back and forth in the course. So thanks for sharing that, Tom. I appreciate that. Anybody else have any tips or tricks that they've learned that they want to share? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. If you do find out some tip or trick, there'll be a session like this in every one of our classes that you can share what you've learned with people. All right? And once again, look. One of the tips or tricks we got to figure out is how I can advance slides more easily. Okay, so another thing, the highlights. So session 1, Introduction to Lean Six Sigma. I think one of the key takeaways for me in this session was thinking about a process as a bunch of inputs or a bunch of X inputs into a process. And we're trying to figure out, how is that going to get to our big Y or our output? So when we're looking at some sort of problem like customer waiting time, and we've got all kinds of inputs that cause that customer to wait long, and understanding what the impact of all those inputs are on our ultimate thing of concern, which is our output or our Y, or maybe the customer waiting time. So one way to think about these things is our critical equality characteristics. So if the quality that we're interested in is total waiting time, what are the individual inputs for that? And so creating a critical equality tree or diagramming that relationship can be particularly helpful. Also in this first session, they introduced the concept of downtime. So when from a lean perspective, we're interested in what are the wastes in a process? What are the things that are stopping things from being completed on time? What are the impediments to flow? And downtime is a little acronym that we use to describe what those wastes are. So you got things like defects, overproduction, waiting, etc. So downtime is a good acronym. You'll hear other people talk of other ways to describe that. You hear people talk about Tim Wood, and Tim Wood is another arrangement of those same sort of letters to get that idea across. Another thing I really like in this session is the idea of thinking of things as a thought process map. And I've got that little diagram in the lower right-hand corner here, your thought process map. And if you think about it, there's some sort of question, there's some sort of action or analysis that I do. I get some sort of answer that raises additional questions. I take additional answer or actions to get additional answers. And I'm moving through my process or through my thought process. This is actually the same model that we use in the mini project. If you're doing your mini project really well, it would start out with some sort of overall problem or question. For example, I keep on using this idea, waiting time is too long. I'm going to do some sort of action. Maybe I'm going to map the process. Once I map the process, I analyze that process, or I look at that, I interpret that, I get some sort of answer, but that sort of drives maybe other questions as well. Why does step number 3 take so long? Or why do I have so many non-value added components in my process map? And then I have to go in and, with that question, I've got other analyses I'm going to do to answer that question. So you can actually think of your mini project as a thought process map. All right? Any questions about lesson 1? So I'm looking for raised hands. I'll give you guys a question. Any other? There's a lot of different parts. These are just some of the highlights that I thought were noteworthy. But you're expected to know everything. All right. And let's see here. All right. So for session 2, so now we're getting into the define phase, the first step of the DMAIC process. And actually in this phase, there's a big focus on starting the project and actually leading the teams. So when Carlos was talking, he was talking about getting those teams engaged in problem solving, especially in the form of a Kaizen event. Well, it's important to get the right team and the right people on board to help you solve your problems. It's also important to pick the right project. I particularly like this project prioritization matrix that you see here. So what I might do, and I ask you to think of maybe a primary project and a backup project, or you might have a list of 3 or 4 different projects that you can do. But one of the tools you could do in the define phase is you can actually do this tool. You can say, okay, I'm thinking of these 3 or 4 different projects. I'm going to rate them with regards to importance to the customer, the potential cost for implementation, how likely is it that I'm going to be successful in this project, what's its impact on cost reduction, could I leverage the results? So if I learned something in this one particular area by solving this problem, can I leverage this in other areas? And then by doing a simple multiplication of those things, come out with a total project priority score. And this might be input into my decision as to which one I might do. Now in this analysis, it says that high percentage of write-offs would be the project name, and score is 288. But ultimately what I always say is the analysis is not the decision. So you as the project leader can then say, okay, that's interesting, but I'm more interested in doing, the first project there, high unit cost products. So that's the one I'm going to tackle. But this would be an input in your interpretation. You can tell me why you didn't pick the highest priority one, if you will, and then move on, okay? So that's a particularly interesting tool. The other one I like is there's a Raci Matrix that you can look at. So who's responsible, accountable, informed, and communicated in projects, because a lot of good project management is all about communication. There's also, in lesson 14, there's some information on success factors for project management. I encourage you to go ahead and take a look at that if you haven't already, Okay. So those are the highlights for session 2. Some hidden gems in both these sessions. That first one, Wikipedia, sometimes, especially from professors, gets a bad rap for not providing maybe the best information. But I got to say, the definition and information on Six Sigma in Wikipedia is pretty good. So if you ever get sort of stuck and somebody's quizzing you, well, what is Six Sigma? What's it about? You can always go to that Wikipedia page and get some pretty good information. Lean principles, we talked about different models. So we're going to look at the DMAIC model, define, measure, analyze, improve, control throughout this course. Lean principles, the 5 steps from Womack and Jones is another good model to look at. So understanding, what the value is, understanding, what the flow or the process is to deliver that value, what are the impediments to flow, what are the wastes involved, can I get that value to be pulled by the customer, and then ultimately can I go back and can I improve that again, so make that a continuous cycle. So that's another model that's also very useful, used by the lean community. There is a good metric and definitions list. I encourage you to go ahead and check that out. We're going to be asking you, when you figure out what your process is what the problem is, the next big question is how do you measure it? And there's some ready definitions and metrics there that you can pull from. In session 2, there is a good example of a charter, both good and bad examples. Check those out. Also, like the team leader behaviors is something to check out. And then last but not least, something I hadn't seen until I was exposed to it by MoreSteam is this idea of these 4 critical conversations. So you got initiating conversations, some understanding conversations, performance conversations, and closer conversations. I've used those a lot as I think about, when I've got to talk to somebody, like what kind of conversation is this? And I encourage you to check that out. Any other gems or really sort of interesting things that people clicked on or found or was surprised by as they went through the course? They think that's going to be pretty useful in their career or in their current jobs? So go ahead and raise your hands if you've got anything like that. Okay, so with that, I am going to go ahead and move on. All right, one thing we'll do as we go through the course is I'll always try to work a little problem. There weren't any real tough statistical problems in this section, but there was the concept that Lean Six Sigma people use is this idea of defects per million opportunities. So one thing, they went through this little example, I think it was a sidebar optional thing you could click on, but the idea of being Six Sigma is the idea of missing 1 putt in every 163 years. And if you think about that, that's a pretty low defect rate. And if you've ever played golf, you know how hard that is. But essentially, we're looking at, we can calculate the number of opportunities to miss a putt in, so many years or whatnot of playing golf. You figure out, what that one defect would be, and then you multiply that by 1 million, and then we can convert that defect per opportunity into defects per million opportunities. And the standard for us in Six Sigma equates to 3.4 defects per million opportunities. So 3.4 defects per million is a walk-around number. If anybody asks you, like, what is Six Sigma or how good do you have to be Six Sigma, you have to be, 3.4 defects per million. Okay. All right. And with that, I think we're done. So that's all I've got for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and post these slides online, so you can go ahead and look at them. You've got a lecture quiz and a that's based on our guest lecture, what Carlos talked to you about, and then also a movie quiz that you need to do. And that's it. Any questions on anything that was covered tonight or in class, or anything from an administrative standpoint? Okay, well, thank you so much for hanging in there. It looks like we had 27 drop down to 24 by the time we're there at the end. I'm going to measure the peak, so I'm going to measure the 27 point. Maybe someday, if you came back to this class next year, you'd see us measuring the drop-off rate or something as another measure on how good we're doing these sessions. Okay?
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah, Eric, we have some hands raised.
Oh, okay. Thank you for pointing that out. So, Ali, you got a question?
Yeah, I was actually curious because I know we're switching to the Fullerton website, but are we going to still be using the Google Drive to submit things like the quiz?
Yeah. So for this week, stick with the Google Drive unless you hear differently from Laura. But she and I are going to be working on cleaning up that Fullerton website. Because right now we just cut and pasted everything over from the state file, and there's some things we need to fix. So it might not be this Sunday. This Sunday we'll still use the Google Drive, I'm pretty sure. But then, by next Sunday we'll probably have transitioned over. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right. So let's see. Next up we got Dominic.
Yes, sir. So mine was quick, just from an administrative standpoint. Will it be through now the Fullerton website? Will we be tracking submittals of our non-MoreSteam homework assignments? And I asked that question because I had some back and forth with Laura regarding I didn't receive the information, and she had a hard time, I think, on her end getting my submittal. So I just want confirmation that you did in fact receive.
So I think what we're talking about, and I think Laura's on the same page with this. We're talking about for this first week as we get things set up, there's going to be pretty much a general amnesty on late submissions and assignments, because I don't want to hold you guys accountable for things that are our fault, as far as unclear instructions or not having everybody up online and accessible to the right stuff. So do the best you can as far as submission and hitting your targets. And we'll do the best we can on our side at giving you clear instructions and making sure the websites and things are well set up on our side. Okay?
Understood. Thank you.
And let's see. So, Ravi, you got a question?
Yes, sir. So I have a question on the celebrity quiz. I was wondering if you could post those 3 questions, the quiz questions, online, like with our Google Drive. That would be great. So,
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. So I thought that the way we were doing it is Laura was sending you a link to a Google form for the quiz. Have you received that?
But today you talk about that these 3 questions is already posted.
Yeah, she already did that.
Okay.
If you check your email, you're gonna find it. She already sent everything out.
Okay. I didn't check it.
Okay, yeah. If Laura didn't get so at this point you want to have links for both those quizzes, for the 200 quiz and for Carlos's guest lecture quiz. So go ahead and do those 2. If you don't have those links, contact Laura and she'll put them. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions? I know, Brittany, you're hanging around because we said we'd maybe sort of chat after class here. Well, let's see, Dominic, you got another question?
No, I don't. Let me lower my hand here.
Okay. Cool. No problem. All right. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay. So Charles got a question. Charles, do you have a question? You got a hand raised.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just real quick, I don't know if this is something that you would rather take off the air, but for the students that are in here for the transactional greenbelt, you had mentioned at the beginning of the course that there were additional steps that they could take to achieve certification. Could you remind us of what those were again?
Right. So actually, for the green belts and the transactional green belts, the certification process is the same. So what you need to do is you need to complete this class. Well, let's see. I'm gonna sort of take back what I said. So the way the transactional green belt certification goes, you take this class and you complete it with a 80%. Across the board on assignments and all that sort of thing. Then we'll put you into certification. The certification will require a 3-hour test, and it's an online test. You got to pass that with 80% or better. Then after the test, you have to complete a Greenbelt project, right? And then you also have to have 120 hours of related experience, not related to your project, in Lean Six Sigma. So Charles, is that the information you need? There's nothing you really need to do right now. Right now, you just need to focus on completing this course with an 80% or better.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. And just sort of the reason I hesitated there, for the Greenbelt students, the 3-hour test is included at the end of this class. So that's what our final exam is, right? But the transactional people, the test is actually bundled with the certification, okay? Other questions? Charles, you want to lower your hand if you get a chance? There we go. Other questions? All right, looks like we're moving forward. Brittany, if you could unmute your microphone. My first question to you, are you okay with other people being in our conversation, or do you want to go offline to have our conversation?
That's fine. They're kind of like specific to me though, so I don't know if it's like helpful for them to listen in, but.
All right.
Is
Well,
that okay with you?
It's okay with me if it's okay with you.
Okay.
Right.
Can I just start my
Just go ahead and start.
Okay. So I know Laura had extended the due date. I haven't yet uploaded my resume. It's not too late to do that, right? Because I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yes. So like I said, at this point, we'll assume that everybody's got sort of amnesty on late submissions. Cool. What will happen later on in the course is you should always submit, even if it's late. Yeah. But what we'll do is we'll take a point or two off for the late submission. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to do that right after this. And then also it's been kind of hectic at my house because I've had family visiting and stuff. So I didn't complete the end of session 2, like the quiz, until like Monday morning.
Right.
Is that going to be an issue as well? Because I was a little adjusting and confused on dates and stuff.
Right. Similar thing. So the MoreSteam system is a little bit more robust. I'm assuming that's working and stuff. So you're going to be held accountable. So you will lose points for not submitting those on time.
This for this session.
For this session, yeah. But
for session 2, like the 1 and 2.
Right.
Okay.
But just remember, and I still got to do this. The amount of points from an overall standpoint is really low.
Okay, cool.
Right?
Because
we're looking at 3 points for on-time submission out of 163 total points, and that's only 10% of your grade. Right?
Okay.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I won't have an issue with that again. And then, so I'm leaving for Japan on Saturday, and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. So I'm not going to be here until the 16th, which is this Saturday before like the end of week 4. So
Okay.
I'm working on completing the MoreSteam stuff,
Right.
and I'm doing well on that, but I'm concerned on lecture quizzes. So
Right.
is there any way I can complete that when I'm back in town for those 2 weeks? And am I going to miss points for not being present during those lectures and stuff?
Yeah. No, yes. So really, there is no points for being online,
Yeah.
on live. So you can go ahead, and the participation points are totally gauged by whether you complete those lecture quizzes or not.
Okay.
I'm going to say, Brittany, that the rule is, since it's all going to be online and posted, so I'm going to post like Carlos's, video.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that from Japan, right?
Okay. Yeah. It's just,
Okay.
I'm on we're going through a tour company, so they have us booked daily and hourly.
Yeah.
So it's just like not like there's no like leisure time really,
Right.
unless I'm but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you might have to do a little sort of coffee shop thing or something. Hopefully you'll have some time to do that. And once again, it's going to be the max of two lectures, right, during those 2 weeks. And so that's 6 points, or 12.6 and 6 points. So if you, so that's 12 points out of 160 some.
Okay.
Once again,
Okay. Yeah. And then is there anything else during those 2 weeks besides, I know you've already posted the video, so I can do that ahead of time. Is there anything else I would be missing within those 2 weeks?
No, I think that's it. So you'll know sort of what the videos are. The guest lecture stuff won't be ahead of time.
Okay.
But and even at that, if you did them late, it's 6 points if it's on time. Maybe it's only 4 points if it's late, or.
Okay. Yeah. And then that's all due on the Sunday, right?
Right. Right.
Okay.
And you have to do the math on the time change with Japan, right?
Yeah. It's like 11 hours, which is crazy.
Okay.
Okay. And then, so for the mini projects, because that is going to be due, or at least like the proposal, I guess, at the end of that 4 week, which is like right around the time I'm getting back. So I already have an idea for that.
Okay.
How do you feel about, so my dad owns a market research company, and I'm not familiar with the company at all, so this would be very separate. And he's been in business for like 22 years. He has 15 people working for him.
Wow. Okay.
And it's like more than $1 million revenue, like yearly and stuff. Is that something that, do you think I could work? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Awesome?
No, that would be perfect.
Okay.
And what you might, so if we're doing this like and you were a real lean consultant.
Yeah.
You would go in and you'd say, okay, what's your $5 million problem?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I want to work on.
Yeah.
And you'd say, we got, but you might want to, scale it down, pick $100,000 problem for your dad and solve that one. Okay.
Okay. So where should I start with that? Would that be like a project
Like I said,
a flow chart, or?
No. Start with the problem. So
Okay.
talk to your dad. So like, well, what,
Well, it would be
what
like,
keeps you up at night? What is your, what things do you worry about? Is there something that needs to be fixed?
I've kind of talked to him a little bit already just before this conversation with you and stuff, and I think it'd be something related to like reducing the amount of like time between the requests of, because he basically gives his clients a report on like market research and the competitors and whatnot. So like reducing that time, or like the throughput time for his analysts and stuff.
Oh yeah. No, that's perfect.
Okay.
Lean projects, time is an excellent thing to pick.
Okay.
From a lean improvement standpoint.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so then like, should I start with like a project charter, or like a flow chart, like a SIPOC map, or?
Well, I would just start with the project charter.
Okay.
And then fill in those boxes on the project charter to the best of your knowledge
Yeah.
about the problem that you're trying to do.
Okay.
And what I look for in a draft project charter is I look to you to have it maybe like 80% complete.
Okay.
There's going to be some boxes you're not going to quite know or be sure of.
Yeah.
And you can fix your project charter during your final submission of your project.
Okay.
So this is just a draft. I'm going to look it over, say you're on the right track.
Okay.
You get to fix it. Okay?
Okay. Cool. And so are you gonna give us those things that we need to like turn into for that at the end of the 4-week mark? Like the proposal, like are you gonna give us an outline of what we need to turn in?
We will.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
It'll be posted on the website and
Okay.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And then so I know we're switching medium, so should I be switch over completely to the Fullerton one, or are video of lectures and stuff going to still be posted on the Google Docs and stuff like that?
We'll have probably some period of overlap where we're using both of them.
Okay.
But eventually the plan is to get off the Google Drive.
Okay. Okay,
Right.
cool. I'll check both. And then, okay, lastly, I know there's a 5-hour final exam for me with the black belt certification.
Right.
Is that timed?
Yes.
Okay. I have DRC accommodations. Is that applicable to be utilized?
Yeah. So what we'll do is you and I will talk about that offline. We'll figure out some sort of adjustment factor.
Okay.
For
I mean,
you.
it's really just a time increase. I just have 1.7 time.
Yeah.
Time.
Right. And one thing I've done before is I've set up times with students and I can hit like a reset the clock.
Yeah.
But it's a very manual thing.
Okay, yeah.
That I have to do. So let's sort of handle that offline.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to see if that was going to be an option and stuff.
Yeah, yep, it will be.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
So I'll upload my resume onto the Google Doc, not Fullerton.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, good deal. Thanks, Brittany.
Have a good one. Bye.
All right, sure. Did that raise any questions for anybody else? It's always nice to hear what somebody else's problems are, so we're good. Oh, okay, so Judy, what's up?
Yeah, so actually I have a question that occurred to me about for certification for the X number of hours of related experience.
Right.
My company is currently going through a Lean Six Sigma based process
Okay, good.
for months and months. My company was acquired and is being merged with other companies, and I'm actually one of the key people that's been assigned to a track to participate in all of the transition activities.
Well, it's
pretty fascinating. Aside from being totally exhausting, it's pretty fascinating watching where this company has chosen to adhere rigidly to what I'm now understanding of the process and where they've chosen to diverge.
Right.
My question is in terms of qualifying hours for certification.
Right.
Is participation in this process something that would be considered as applicable hours?
Oh yeah, certainly. And all I'm looking for that 120 hours is if you can get your boss or somebody in your organization to send me an email message.
Sure.
Judy participated in these types of activities for at least 120 hours, and 120 hours. That's
it's already
3 40-hour weeks.
We're there. We're there, and we still have till August.
Oh no, yeah. You're gonna have no problem with that, Judy. To be honest, the reason I put that in there is I didn't want Cal Poly to be certifying black belts and green belts for students that never worked a day in their life.
Sure.
So if you think about 120 hours, that's maybe a quarter of an internship where the student, worked on teams or a process improvement project or something. For real live working individuals like you, it's a pretty low bar.
So you're saying 14 hours a day for
Yeah.
every day for the rest of my life will probably qualify?
Yeah. That ticks the box.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Judy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anybody else? Any questions? Okay, we're going to call it quits for tonight. Thank you all, and have a good week, and have a good time online checking those quizzes out. All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.